Hi, I'm Cassie from Me Time. This is a mini tutorial about how to sew perfectly pieced blocks together to make a 4-patch. So Perfectly Pieced has a really cool thing with their blocks. It's called the anatomy of the block. If you grab your general resource guide and turn to the front of it, there is a diagram right here that shows you the anatomy of the block. And this is important for stitching your blocks together because there are 3 lines. This inner line right here is the batting tack down line, and that just shows you where the batting is stitched. The line just outside of it, this line right here, is our stitching line, and we're going to sew directly on that line to get our perfect 4-inch seams. And then this line right here on the outside, that is our cut line, and that's what's done at the very end of our stitching right before we quilt, and you go all the way around the block, and that's what we cut on directly. Alright, so now that we've learned about the block, we're going to make a 4-square. So this is what a 4-square is. It's where we put 4 blocks together, and you can call it a 4-square or a 4-patch. Either of those are regularly known terms, and we're going to do that together. So I'm going to move this one aside since that one's already sewn, and I'm going to take my blocks. So this is my little blocks that I have already stitched. These are 4-inch blocks, and I'm going to arrange them or tumble them however I want, which is a nice thing. You can get different looks however you tumble them. This is the look that we're going to do for this quilt. Isn't that cute? I'm so excited. Now there's some things that you need to know about lining up. Our quilting is continuous. If you can kind of look here, it might be hard to see, the quilting goes across and it matches the blocks. So when we are putting them together, we're going to match not only where the fabric goes, but where the quilting hits as well. So I'm going to take 2 blocks and I'm going to put them right sides together, and because they should be cut about right, I'm just going to kind of tap them and make them even as much as I can, and then I'm going to just kind of make any adjustments that I think need done. Then I'll take my sewing clips and I'll clip a little bit excessively. You don't normally need this many when you're sewing, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my block before I stitch it. So seems like quite a lot, but that's okay. Then I can open it kind of like a book and I can look and see, okay, my quilting is lining up here, it's lining up there, it's lining up there, and my fabric is lining up. All right, so I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and stitch this first line. So I'm gonna scooch over here to my sewing machine, and I'm gonna be sewing directly on that sewing line, which is a little bit light for you because it was done in a light colored thread, but I'm going to watch it carefully. I'm going to remove that top clip so I have room for my presser foot, and I will put it down and stitch this stitch. And you just go ahead and remove your clips as you go. Okay, now blocks are perfect, but I am not, and so I'm going to double check that that's stitched okay. So I just open it back up, and I decide whether or not I like how everything lined up. If you don't like how it lines up, it's okay. It's just easy to unpick and adjust and go ahead and sew it again. So we're going to take our iron and we're going to open up that seam. Everybody calls it different things. I call it butterflying the seam, but what we're going to do is open it up nice and flat. And after we get it all warmed up, we're going to take our wood clapper and we're going to put it right on top, and we're going to press, and we're going to wait until it cools down. That's going to help our seam lay nice and flat. Okay, after you like your seam, you go ahead and set that aside, and we're going to sew the next half. So same story as before. Line it up how we'd like. Make sure that we're on that stitch line. And then we're going to sew along, removing the clips as we sew. And then we'll double check this side. If we like how it looks, then we're going to iron it. Open up or butterfly your seam. Go ahead and warm it up. Pressing really nice. And then with your clapper, we're gonna make that seam stay nice and flat. And this is just going to help us when we're stitching the next seam to make our 4 patch. Okay, so now that I have these pieces, I don't want to put them this way, though you could. That'd be a really fun pattern. You get a really cool triangle there. But I'm going to turn them around and get this pattern. So, same story as before. We can line up all of our seams, but the most important part here is lining the center seam and then the edges. So, I like to start there. Again, I'm going to kind of tap my blocks and make sure that I have those 2 lined up best I can. And I like to put a sewing clip on either side, just directly, so that that's really where I want it to go. And then I'm going to kind of smooth my fabric and add a couple sewing clips on either side. And then again, I'm going to open it just like a book, and I'm going to check to see if I think things are lining up. If it looks pretty good, then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it, but if I see something off, like this one's slightly off, I'm going to unclip and see if I can adjust it just a little bit to improve how it's going to look. So this, I'll come and look at my stitching and I'll say, okay, you need to go right there, and I've got it where I want it, so then I'm going to clip it right where I pinched it. And I'm going to look at this quilting here. I want that to line up right there, so then I'm going to clip it right there so that my stitching for the quilting is lining up correctly. All right, let's give this a go. Now the nice thing is it doesn't matter if you have it this way or this way, both sides have that stitching line. So we're going to put it in our machine and get it right on that 1/4 inch seam line. And give it a stitch. And I just remove clips as I go. When I get to that center seam line, I'm going to kind of hold it a little bit harder with my finger over here so that it doesn't move. And then I'm going to carry on and finish the seam. I like to scooch this one just to hold my corner when I get to longer seams like this so that it doesn't move when I'm almost there. And then I just remove that one at the end. All right. Now we get to open it and see how we did. Pretty good. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. I want a really perfect X where everything lines up and my seams are just beautiful. So since I like it, we're gonna go ahead and put it over here, and we're going to warm up that seam. We're gonna butterfly it open, and we're gonna press it. Give it a little bit of an extra pressure right there in the center, and then continue opening it up. And then because I want that to stay, I'm going to take my clapper and I'm going to hold it there just until it cools down. Okay, now that everything is all aligned and sewn, I have this beautiful 4 patch with Perfectly Pieced. Thanks for joining me for this mini tutorial. This project is from the Perfectly Pieced subscription by MeTime, which is for machine embroidery. Perfectly Pieced gives you perfect blocks every time. We deliver complete machine embroidery experiences right to your door with files, instructions, fabric, and notions, so you can start creating beautiful quilting projects the moment you're ready. Find more about MeTime at metimedelivered.com or follow the link below. Please like and subscribe for more machine embroidery content. Now go enjoy some well-deserved me time.